I really look up to you, Saskia. I think you're an awesome person. Why did you then decide to pursue a PhD?
Well, I mean, we all have our mother's voices in our heads, you know what I mean? Like, and my mom, I think I mean, if I'm speaking really honestly, like it came from a place of feeling like I wasn't doing enough, I wasn't succeeding according to my mother's standards, which are, intellect. She's an intellectual or a wannabe intellectual, So there's that sort of what is the meaning of all this kind of nonsense that we all get. And then on top of it, I've been running the Institute, just churning through it, just running and running and running and constantly just working for nigh on to 12 years. And I just needed to formalize what I've learned. I mean, I just needed to sit down, I'm trying to sit down and be like, okay, all this work I've been doing, all this like hustle, what's the bigger picture of all this? Because I actually, I mean, this is a thing. Like, I don't really care about perfumery as an industry. I mean, I love it, you know what I mean? But it's not my first passion. My first passion is creative expression writ large. So perfumery for me is just one example among many. Like, here's an industry or a practice that's been industrialized and made exclusionary. And if we can sort of examine those power narratives or structures of exclusion in one industry, you can apply that to any industry. So that's sort of the big picture, is creating a model or creating a map, really, of how to disrupt a space, not to the, destruction of it, but just to create space for other people within it, So that's the big picture of the PhD. And I meandered. I'm sorry, Sophia.
No, that's okay. I want to go back to what you said about why you pursued your PhD, because I think this is a really important thing to mention, that a lot of us think of PhDs as something that we do at maybe even in an earlier stage in our life, where we're like trying to kind of tick a box, like, okay, we're continuing research in a way. But I really like this idea also that you just mentioned, that it's like, okay, I was doing all these things. I was, serving the community. I was shaping an institute, all these very kind of practical things, you could say. And I just needed a point where I looked back and reflected
Yeah,
on what I
yeah,
was doing, why I was doing it,
exactly.
what I learned. And I think that's really important to think of a PhD in that way, or even any sort of research.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I think, the advantage of coming to it a little bit later, or as they kindly say, mid-career, is that you have been working, and I'm a producer at heart, like when there's a problem, I produce the result, like that's what I
Yeah.
do. So to take that moment to be like, let's stop producing, let's stop being productive and just actually think about it, for me was really, I mean, it's really important, and I think I would hope that everybody would have a moment to try something like that, whether it's a PhD or a book or an essay or whatever, just to reflect, and
It's super challenging as
oh
well.
my God, it's like, it's also, it doesn't come naturally to me. I'm not
Yeah.
someone to do all the research patiently and check my sources. It's just not I don't have that brain. So it's definitely hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I might totally screw it up. I mean, it could be that when it's published, people are like, this is nonsense. And that is what it is. It might happen.